Hello everybody, this is Ryan from Rager's Custom Flies, coming at you with another fly today. I have a Lively Legz Flashback Pheasant tail in the vise. This is a great fly, a little bit of flash on it, spin off of the tried and true pheasant tail, not only because of the flash on the back, but also because of the Lively Legz. This has a pretty big materials list, so I'm just going to call them out as I go and put a list at the end for everyone. I'm going to go ahead and get a hook in the vise and get it started. So I have a wholesale fly company, model 8 in size 12, along with a 3.2 millimeter bead in black nickel, also from wholesale fly company. First thing I'm going to start with is 0.015 lead. I'm going to give it about 8 wraps. I always hold it, pop it off, push it up in here, and then pop that off too. Then I have a dark brown thread. It's ultra thread 70 denier. I like the smaller thread. It doesn't build up a lot of bulk. Just have to be careful when really cinching down stuff at the end. So I'm going to come down a little bit, cut off my tag end here, and then come back up. What I like to do once I get here is I like to kind of hold it and just give it kind of almost like a crosshatch kind of thing, and then pull it tight. It'll really hide that lead. I'm going to come the whole way down the shank here. And I like to come into the bend a little bit with this. So I have a natural pheasant tail. I'm going to pull off approximately 7 to 8 pheasant tail fibers here. Make sure they're all even. Now I like just hold them and pull them off. Now I tie my tails in a little differently. I don't measure and then transfer. What I do is I hold them and I give about 3 or 4 short wraps. Then I take it, I pull up, and then I pull it straight. Now when I pull, I want to make sure I keep my finger, or else it'll kind of splay out weird. So I keep my finger in there, and that looks pretty darn good to me. So I'm going to take a little tension on the pheasant tail fibers and wind them up to the lead, hold down, and pull off, and it should pop right off. Next material is ultra wire in size small. Obviously this is a gold color, so I'm going to tie it in on the side towards me. I like to come right behind my lead, kind of put that in there, create a nice little uniform body. So I'm going to tie that back. I don't have the material clip yet for my Regal, so it kind of gets in the way sometimes. For some reason it always seems gold wire is just, it stays in that circular form. You can't really straighten it out. So I'm going to leave my thread near the middle. And then I'm going to take my Vivus tinsel in large. This is pearl. And I'm going to tie that in. I like to start near the middle, maybe even like kind of a little bit back behind the lead. So I want to make sure it's on top. So that's very important to make sure this is on top. So I'm going to come back. And I want to come back to exactly where I stopped for everything else. And then I'm going to wind back up. I take a little bit of care to try to make sure I cover all of the tinsel, just because I don't want that showing through on the underside of the body. Obviously, it's not going to matter in the top of the body. So next thing, I'm going to grab the pheasant tail again. I'm going to grab 8, 9 fibers. And I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm just going to hold them even and then pull them off. I am going to flip them around this time. Make sure all the ends are even and just snip them off square. Now I'm going to take those square ends and put them down on the edge here. And then I'm going to tie them in. Now I'm going to take my thread after I tie those in and bring it up kind of make sure that I have all this fairly smooth. I want a smooth body, smooth transitions. I'm gonna bring it up to where a little bit past where I think the abdomen will be. So I'm gonna wind this around, make sure that it's all splaying out nice. That didn't that time, so let's try again. That time it did. I have one errant fiber there, but that'll be okay. Probably do one more wrap here, and I'm just gonna tie this off. So then I'm gonna cut that. Next thing, I'm gonna take the tinsel. I'm gonna pull it straight up. I wanna get some good tension on it, kind of bring it towards me a little bit, because when I tighten this down, it'll bring it towards the center. So I just want to tie that in over the top. Next thing, I'm going to take this and I'm going to counter wrap. And when I go over the top, I'm going to make sure that I nicely catch that tinsel. Make sure it kind of goes down each side. It doesn't stick up funny or anything like that. And what I like to do for this is I like to fold that up. And my last wrap, I'm going to come right in front. And then I'm going to finish that off. And just pop that off. All right, next thing is turkey tail. So I have a piece of turkey tail here. How I like to do it is I take it in, I go most of the size of the hook gap and just pull it out. So that gives me an almost perfect measurement of what my wing case should be. I'll snip that off. What I also like to do is I take it nice like that and I just trim the top maybe ½ an inch. So now I'm going to tie that in on top, make sure it's nice and even on the top along with the tinsel staying underneath. So I usually tie that in and then kind of hold both of these just to make sure that it's even. You can even pull it forward just to make sure it's going to sit right in the middle of where I want that wing case to be. So the next material is small, size 14-12 lively legs. I like using the purple flake legs on this. I think it really creates a nice pattern. Along with the flash on the top, it kind of sets it off in my opinion. So I tie these in a little differently. It works for me, may not work for everyone. So I put the tab out over the front and I keep it towards me. I take one wrap and 2 wrap over the front tab, and then 3 to 4 wraps over the middle, then 2 wraps over the back. Make sure it's sitting nice and even. Not going to use all the legs today. I'm just going to use the front 4. So I'm going to cut off the back, and I'm going to cut off the front tab, and I'm just going to make sure my thread's right in the middle there. So next, I'm just going to get some peacock curl here, just regular old peacock curl. This is some I have sitting around. I think it's peacock fluorescent green hurl, but any hurl will work. I usually take about 3 pieces. I like to preen it back when I start. I'm going to lay it across. Take a couple wraps. I usually like to start to the back and then come forward. And I take this and then double it over and tie that in again. That way, when you're pulling on it, it doesn't just slip out of your thread wraps. That happened to me a lot when I first started tying. My hurl used to constantly slip over my thread wraps. So I'm going to move that up to my thread up to the front. I am going to twirl this a little bit. I'm going to take 1 wrap in front, and I'm going to take 2 wraps behind the back legs. I'm going to take 1 to 2 wraps in front of the legs. I'm going to take 1 good big wrap in front of the front legs. And then I'm going to tie this off. So I'm going to pull down. And then I'm going to pull this up and snip that off. Now, as you can see, the legs kind of get wonky. I'll show you how to fix that at the end. So then I'm going to pull my turkey tail forward, make sure it's nice and tight. I like to, again, pull it towards me using the thread and just have that right in the center. So I'm going to tie that off. Then I'm going to snip. Then I'm going to take my tinsel and bring it up across the top. Again, I usually like to use the thread to kind of pull it towards me, because then when I put tension on it, it sits right in the middle. So 2 or 3 wraps on top, 2 or 3 wraps behind, pull it up, and pop it off. Now I'm going to whip finish here. So I'm going to grab my whip finisher. I do want a little bit of a brown color behind, but it doesn't have to be huge, so I'll probably do 2 whip finishes. Just make sure when you do this, you don't catch the legs. You don't get them in your whip finish, nothing like that. So what you're going to do is you're going to finish up your whip finishes. Now, if you look, the legs aren't sitting exactly how you'd really want them to. So what I like to do is I like to grab each leg, pull it out, and just shake it around a little bit, lift up, and push down. Then they're sitting pretty much where I want them to be right there. This is a size 12. I tie these from a size 16 to a size 12. I haven't really went smaller than that. But this is a great pattern, has a little bit of flair and a little bit of play off of the regular old pheasant tail. Thanks for watching.